Hello everyone, Matt the Gameboy here, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boyographic. As I say almost every week on this introduction, the aim of this series is to bring you the best and worst of the Game Boy library one card at a time. This episode, I take great pride in being able to show you one of the greatest games on Nintendo's 8-bit handheld in my opinion. It's Hammerin Harry. Amongst European Game Boy collectors, there are fewer games more coveted than Hammerin Harry. Arguably one of the rarest titles in the Game Boy library, Hammerin Harry isn't a game you see every day, and unlike games of a similar grandeur on the system as say Trip World, one that flies under the radars of general gamers, which is a massive shame, as it is undoubtedly amongst the best titles on the system. Despite sharing box art with the NES port of the original arcade game in Europe, the Game Boy game is a unique and more surreal entry into this series. Hammerin Harry Ghost Building Company, to use its full title, is a side-scrolling action platformer that draws heavily on its arcade roots. The story is simple. While on a stroll with his girlfriend, who, if the PSP reboot is to be believed, is called Canna, please correct me if I'm wrong, is all going well when suddenly she's snatched up by a ghost. Fortunately, Harry's quite handy at hammering, as the series is called Daiku no Gensan, or Gen the Carpenter to you and me in Japan. Interestingly enough, the game is also called Ghost Breeding Company in Japan, but I guess in this localization, the European market thought this sounded a little bit seedy. So the setup to this game is a simple and well-worn premise perhaps, but one that does the job of allowing Harry to hammer his way through 5 levels, all featuring very unique settings that see you kicking ass on construction sites, traversing haunted houses, swimming the ocean's depths, and that's just in the opening sections of the game. Aesthetically, the game is luscious. The chunky sprites are reminiscent of those in Konami's excellent Kid Dracula, with which the game shares a very light-hearted tone. Each section of the game's stages really vary the environment design and with it the enemy style. To my memory, there are no rehashed sprites across this entire game, meaning each enemy feels fresh and fun to fight. Each stage starts as an audience in a movie theatre watches the horrors Harry has to face unfold on the screen in front of them, which is a small detail perhaps, but really adds to the spirit of what the setting this game is, which is at heart a really trashy B-movie. Taking Harry round these levels and showing every ghoul and ghastly creature you come across while your friends call you Hammerin is pretty straightforward. The A button's to jump, while B is to swing your hammer. Down and B shakes the screen and stuns your enemies, while up and B will see you hold your hammer above your head, not only hitting high-flying enemies, but also to shield yourself from falling objects. Not that getting hit is too much of a hassle in this game, as you're able to take 3 hits before you die, but can kill enemies to restore your health by eating rice cakes. And if you get 5 of these, you can fill the meter beyond the starting point and take up to 5 hits a level, which is pretty generous of the game's creators. Other than health, enemies also drop hard hats that make you invulnerable for 1 hit, a giant spiky upgrade for your hammer that deals some serious damage, and even extra lives in the shape of little amiibo-esque Harry trophies. While extra lives are quite few and far between in the game, you shouldn't worry too much, as not only does the game feature generous checkpoints and unlimited continues from them, but the homage the continue screenplays to The Evil Dead is so perfectly in tone with the rest of the game that you'll never really mind seeing it. In regards to difficulty, Hammerin Harry is Mega Man-esque in its difficulty curve. Enemies employ a variety of patterns that will take you time to learn, but the game feels all the more rewarding for it. Make no mistake about it, despite how fun this game is, it will challenge you your first time playing through it, especially when you reach the Ghost Factory at the end of the game. I also forgot to mention that there is occasionally a shmup section between the levels, which, while perhaps very straightforward and simple, does wonders to mix up the gameplay and keep the game moving at a steady pace. The controls in these sections are naturally very tight as, let's face it, Irem know a thing or two about making games in this genre. Hammerin Harry's boss battles are also very varied, which is a huge bonus in my books. While the first boss is a large ghostly nail that you simply beat into the walls of a haunted mansion, later bosses all differ in their approach. One involves hitting bombs back in a game of well-timed lethal tennis, while one sees you reduced to a tiny sprite under a colossal ghost, and must destroy the airship you're standing on in order to hurl the wreckage at it, making for some truly memorable moments. The score to the game is also brilliant, but one of the most wonderful things about it is the clearly distinguished digitized speech this game employs, which not only marks your deaths, but also lets you know when you've reached a checkpoint in the game. To my memory, it is perhaps one of the best examples of digitized speech on the system, and clearly deserves some props for it. While the arcade version of Hammerin and his subsequent spin-offs were developed by Irem, this game is actually only published by them. All the glory of this game's achievement should go to the one-time subsidiary of Irem and this game's developers, Tamtex, who sadly worked on very little else besides this wonderful title, which is a bloody shame in my opinion, as Hammerin, as if you couldn't already tell, is somewhat of a masterpiece in my eyes. With its tight controls, beautiful audio and aesthetics, as well as a whole dollop of personality and playability, Hammerin really stands out as a shining beacon of what the Game Boy was capable of in the right hands. While it's not the only time Harry would pound his hammer on the Game Boy, this game is the only one that made it out of Japan, and from what I've played of the various sequels and spin-offs, is undoubtedly the best of them. While locating this game in Europe can be a bit of a pain in the ass, not to mention being a pricey investment, especially if you're trying to find this game complete in box, don't despair, Game Boy fans, as, surprisingly unlike Trip World, the Japanese version of this title is very, very affordable, and I urge you to pick it up without delay, as for my money, there are few games worth playing more on the Game Boy than Hammerin Harry. And that brings us to the end of another Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed. As you can tell, I'm quite enthusiastic about this game, and I must give a huge shout out to Joker Jur, who set me up with this. I traded him something for it, so thank you very much, Jur. Please check out his channel, the link is in the description below. So if you've liked this video and you're looking at Jur's videos and you think, hey, I'd like to watch some more of those Boyographics, you can do so by clicking on the Boyographic banner, checking out the best and worst of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time. You can also check out our Boy Curious series, which I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, there are more of them coming very soon, in which I look at oddities and bootlegs for the system. And then you can also check out All the Glory, the gameplay long play series, which I edit out all of the deaths, leaving you with all of the glory. If you checked out a few of the videos, then why not click subscribe and maybe tell some other people you think may be interested in this. Gamers unite and all that, whoop whoop. And until next week, Game Boys and Girls, game on.